All right, so I'm ready to take the gear off. So step one is to take the interior apart. A couple things because I need to be able to get at the bungees. So I've got the airplane all blocked up. Show you guys. I got a sawhorse under here, and I got two 300-pound sawhorses under here, sharing the load. And then I got a little bit of weight taken off at the tail with that unit. So all in all, it looks a little something like that. That's not a very good shot. So hopefully that suffices. It's been hanging there since yesterday. So it's 24 hours of sitting there. I haven't heard a creak or a groan or anything. So I have faith. It looks like it's on the ground, but you can see the tire's not actually touching. Okay, so what we gotta do is I gotta take the back rest panel off, and then down in here are the bungees, and as you can see, the bungees wrap around this truss work right now. And soon they will not wrap around the truss work. So I'll set up a time lapse and oh, what the fuck, over. That was weird. Put that back on. All right, there we go. That's how it's supposed to work. Door closed. Door open. There we go. I don't know what happened there. That was weird. Anyway, I'll set the time lapse up and pull that apart. Pull these tires off. I'll show you all that too, because I had to custom make those axles with a homemade lathe out of a drill and an angle grinder. So they're not very good. I'm going to remake those while they're off, because, well, I'll explain that later. Alright, I got the other side off. The other side was harder for some reason. Number one, my axle that I built, I'll show you. The wheel bearing didn't want to come off. Didn't want to shimmy off. So I can get the wheel off. This side came off real easy. I set up a time lapse for that, but anyway, I'll show you this, what I had built. So the original tires were like 19-inch or something, and the axle in there is 3/4 inch. So I needed to put the bearings in the Cleveland wheels were 1.25 inches or something. So I needed to step up. So I built this piece of pipe in the backyard with an angle grinder. The original axle's still in there, and then the nut threads on there, and then the pin, safety pin, pins through there so it can't come off. And then this part is just a stopper for the bearing to rest against here. And then I didn't have anything to thread it, so I just pinned the wheels so that I could move it around. Drilled a hole, put a little spacer, I'll show you here. This ring and this thing. The ring on to press against the bearing, and then the pin went in there. It's kind of a pressure fit thing. So, okay, step one. Why did that pop off again? Something is wrong with this. that keeps doing that. I'm gonna have to address that. It just started doing that. I've opened this door a trillion times, and for some reason now it's popping off. Anyway, it's amazing how much pressure that little tiny shock puts out. I got those shocks, if anybody's interested, on Amazon. They're for cabinets or something. Anyway, they were super cheap, but they're extremely strong. I don't know if they would, actually I know they would, just judging by how hard they are to squeeze to get on, because it's actually springs out about another inch or something, and you gotta squish it that inch, and man, it's quite a chore. So anyway, the bungees wrap around the gear leg and up around this truss work here, as you can see. So that's what gets bent, or can get bent on hard landing. So step one, I'm gonna try. So I tied one end of the string to the brake cable and the other end of the string to the gear leg, and then when I unbolt it, the brake cable stays, gear leg comes off, and it'll pull that string through, and then I'll undo it. So then I mark that at the edge of the skinny one. And then go from wherever that is, that distance, down to here, and then line that up, chop that out, and then same thing on this side. Let's see, I'll do the same thing. I'll mark the centers, take that out, cut this here, measure that distance wherever the edge of this one lines up. Cut down the side that same distance, and then on an angle up to that. Mark. And then fold them all down to meet. And the finished product ends up looking a little something like that. My shoulder's really hurting today. In case you're wondering about my shoulder, or my sling, I guess, it's my shoulder. Just had surgery a couple weeks ago on it. I've had some surgeries on it before, but apparently they don't work very good or something. They go again for a third time. The first time was a bunch of stuff that they did with cameras and tools, and then the second time they actually sliced it right open right here, which was just 2 years ago, and like folded everything off, built a new socket and all that stuff, ball and socket. And then this time they did a bunch of rotator cuff tears, same to cameras and the tools, rotator cuff tears, 3 new anchors, some rope, removed some old anchors, a bunch of other stuff. So anyway, I'm trying to work with this stupid hand, but I also want to take advantage of the time that I have at home and not just sit here and do nothing. So here we are, one-handed fabrication. Show which hurt, but I think it's pretty good. But anyway, we got landing gear mock-up. It's actually all welded and done. Everything's done except for the bungee cord hangers to put the eye of the bungee cord on either side. And then the shock bolts, but I think I'll wait till I actually get the shocks before I put the shock bolts on either end, because I don't know actually how thick the head of the shock is where it mounts there, so I don't know how long that bolt needs to be, and I want it to be like this, smooth shank, and then threads just as far as I need to go, you know what I mean? Yeah. So anyway, I'll show you what we got here. So this is it. These still need to be cleaned up. Just this needs to be cleaned up a little bit more. Round it out a little bit, just for aesthetics. And once I weld those things on here in a few minutes, then I'll wrap the bungee cords, and then it's not aligned, so you can see it moves. So I did that on purpose. So what I'll do is I'll take, once it's hanging in the plane, I want to align it so that it's tracking straight and true. So I'll use a washer like that with the right size hole, and I'll align it just right, and then I'll tack it, and then it'll be perfect. Tack it, and then I'll unbolt it, and I'll TIG weld it so that it's perfect, and I'll put a washer on both sides obviously and do that. But this is basically what we got here. So a little bit of cleanup, that welding, those last 4 things, posts to weld on there, a little cleanup, and that's it. Ready for paint. Let me know what you think. Not only is it 6 inches wider here, where is this? But we're also we end up just a little over 3 inches higher. So that's gonna be nice. Hopefully that extra 6 inches makes a difference. And if you look in here, what I did, so that's where the bungee's gonna wrap around. But I needed a round, smooth surface without that little piece of splatter that I can see there. So what I did was I took a piece of this pipe, cut it in half, and then put it in there and welded it in. And then the bungee will go around there without going to the airframe because it goes through. And then it's totally separate from the airframe. It doesn't pull on the airframe. It just pulls on that. And then if that bends, then that'll pull on the airframe. But I don't foresee that bending. I think that's going to be pretty solid. And then that's also substructure, and that significantly strengthens the airplane because that takes up all the landing forces. Any bending is going to have to go through that first, and The gear legs are way softer than that. So I suspect the gear legs fail before anything else. Which I guess is what you want. I'd rather bend a gear leg than the airframe. Anyway, let me know what you think. I'm going to all the holes I suspect will whistle and cause a whole bunch of drag, so I'm just going to put clear tape. Once I paint it, I'll just put clear tape over it, over all the holes. I was going to plug them with these plugs here that pound in there, but they don't pound in flush. I think they'll still cause far more drag than wrapping it in clear tape. I got the thick, good stuff that I got in my bag of tricks for fixing fabric, fixing the wings or whatever. Puncture a hole in the fabric on a non-critical surface, i.e. the fuselage. I can patch it up with the tape. It's can't remember what you call it, but like the corrugated edge or whatever, frilled. There's a word for it. Anyway, let me know what you think in the comments. If you think this thing is a good idea or a bad idea. I weighed it. I'll show you guys on camera once I get the gear legs off and it to its raw form with paint and those last 4 studs welded on. It was 11.9 pounds last time I weighed it. So we'll see what she is. I've added, I'd say, maybe 0.5 of a pound since then. Alright guys, thanks for hanging out. We'll wrap this one up here. Check back next week if you enjoyed. Maybe hit a like, subscribe if you want. I'll be back next week to finish this thing up. And ordered some shocks and a lathe so we can thread those axles, and I'm thinking we'll build some new brakes, do something different with the brakes while it's off, and bolt that bad boy back on. So that will be the next one. So check back next week if you want to get notified. Hit that bell button, and we'll see you next time. Thanks for hanging out.